Hello, this is GenXPCGamerGuy, and today's video is about a game that I just started playing, and I'm exactly 10 hours into it. It's called Terra Invicta. I reached a point in the game where I'm questioning whether I need to restart or not, and I'm going to show you all what point I reached in the game and why I'm thinking that it's better to start over. Let's get started here. Let's go, let's load my last save. And while we're waiting here, I might skip this part because this usually takes a bit of time. The thing I thought about this game is it reminded me a little bit of a world-conquering game, and then at the same time XCOM, the original, where you have the world map and you're an organization and you're resisting the aliens and you're not exactly public about it. That was the first impression I got of this game. And I'll show you in a minute that I think that's true. I think this game has some unique qualities. Now, it's early access game. I've already started a game and then the major patch came through and changed some of the dynamics of games. That's one of the reasons why I'm thinking of starting over. The other is, I think I did things out of order. I'm not sure if this game is perfect or not, but I typically like to be at least ahead of somebody in the game, and it doesn't look like it. So right now, we're in October 1st of 2024. So it's been about 2 years into the game time. And here's the solar system as it exists right now. The state of the solar system is, I'll focus on Earth last. Outside of the Earth, we've been able to detect like aliens here. This is a alien spaceship, and it tells you it's transferring to Trialis's low orbit, and it tells you approximately when. So I like that aspect of the game. Out here in Neptune, though, we see that there's two alien. This is the alien faction out here. There's something going on here. There's something here. A base. It's a settlement. And other areas in the solar system. This is the first one I was told about in the game. There's something on this site, on this site, and this site. And it looks like they get really good mining minerals, I can tell you right now, because I'm going to show you the moon. If we go back and focus, relatively early in the game. So this is supposed to take place roughly at the same time. It starts at our time, 2022, the game. So let's go into the inner solar system here. Don't see anything there yet. So we're going to Earth, but we're going to go to Luna, or the moon. And here's why I'm thinking about starting over. If you look, there's 3 orbits. There's nothing in those orbits right now. But there are 9 settlements here. What it looks like is you gotta explore the moon first. That's what the little probes are. So I just did that. So this is my probe. I'm behind the time. This settlement here is probably the only one left, because look, this only focuses on certain things. This has at least 2 items. If I was to build here, I can find a platform in low lunar orbit, but I can't do much with it. What I need is something with minerals. So right here, there's I'm not going to found that platform, but if I was to do something here, found an outpost, it requires some money, which isn't the problem. I've got plenty of money. It's this right here. It's booster capability available, and it looks like it needs 9. Now everybody else here, this is all the other resistance or organizations that the world game works with us. So I'm way behind. There was a point where I decided, let's go to Earth. I decided that a space station would be better. And let's see, go stations. There's 5 stations now. I think this one's mine. No, this one's mine. So in low Earth orbit, I have a station. And it's not doing me any good. It has power, but then I tried to make a materials lab for research and stuff, but I don't have it. Yeah, I don't have any of this stuff that's required to support this. It's all negative here, so I did it backwards. But I am playing the Resistance, obviously. So let's go to Earth. Now, what I started out as... Let's go one at a time here. You can change, what you're looking at: terrain, organizations, per capita GDP, control points, military tech level, boost income, unrest levels.
They're xenoforming us. There are major countries like the United States. One of the points that the United States controls under the
Protectorate, that's one of the organizations. It's kind of scary, but right now that's just one.
So places like Mexico here, there's a whole bunch of organizations that have taken different aspects of Mexico over. I, in a couple cycles ago,
stopped them from getting advantage of this area. There's a little bit of a marker here that says I've basically disabled this area for a while. I have a really good counselor. So let's talk about the counselors. The most important part of the game
is the counselors. These people, you get like 1 or 2 when you start the game, and they have different characteristics. But the scientist here is good for science, basically, and investigations. So you'd send him to crash investigations. Now, somewhere a couple turns into the game, we get an organizational ability, and so we start taking over different organizations around the world. This guy can handle 5 at the moment. Usually that is directly due to the administration level he has. Each one of these stars signifies 1 level. This is the benefit and cost. Benefit, benefit. All these things have benefits. You can unequip them or sell them outright, but for now I'm just going to show you where I'm at. This guy has that. This guy is an activist. He is great for public campaigns to help your cause, or he can do unrest or help you try to take over countries. That is all I've been able to do with him. She's a judge, and her things she are good at are administration, persuasion, and investigation. Actually, she seems to be good overall. She's controlling 6 points into corporations, and some of them are very useful. Like this one gives me a monthly income of 1.5 space boost. And I'm going to say what's important about that in a minute, and why I screwed up. Kingpin. This person has a lot of capabilities. Corporations or organizations give you more capabilities. For example, this one grants hostile takeovers and public campaigns. If someone naturally has a skill, you can give them more by lining up a corporation or organization and making the person more useful for whatever goals you may need to focus on in the game. We'll go into more of that in a second here. My last counselor here, and where they're from sometimes influences which organizations you would be allowed to take over. For example, this guy is not an American, so he's not likely to get this one. You must either control a point in the United States or a counselor from there. And so this guy wouldn't be able to get one of these organizations. This guy seems to have 11 capabilities. He has given me a lot. This game seems to be focused on nations, organizations, and space. Right now, as I'm only 10 hours into the game, I'm beginning to get the gist of it. I guess you just start out somewhere and try to get your stuff more or less out in space. You're not a fixed location. You are these people. You are this council, not the nations. So if you lost everything and start over, you can just start out with your council. Let's go back to the council. Now, these are the nations that I control. They're all Central American because that's where I chose to focus on. We'll go to the map. I decided my strategies. Since taking over a larger country is more difficult in the beginning of the game, I would start somewhere here in Central America and just unite these areas. If I pick Guatemala, for example, they have an okay GDP, 150 billion here. It isn't that great compared to the US, which is 22 trillion. If you add up all these little countries, I have about $1 trillion or so in GDP right now. The problem with Central America is the insurgency. And insurgency is influenced by things that the game divides into a lot of little priorities, if you want. Here, the insurgency. The game gives you a lot of information until it reaches a rest value of 9. So if cohesion is 0, it basically tells you what is going on. Unrest change per 3 investment of. You can see how the unrest would change per 3 investment points in military price. You can do it, but it's very expensive. I can afford at the moment 1 investment point. But if I end up with 3, eventually I will be good with this. But it is Central America, and I'm not made of money at the moment. Do I focus on the nation? Do I focus on my organization? Do I focus on space? So this game has a good balance of these things. These areas have a high insurgency, and it keeps growing. This one is close to needing work. And if they are high insurgency, then you have a better chance of being disposed of as a leader. Now, since I have been in control of these for a while, I can ally with nearby countries. If somebody attacks one of these other countries, the other neighbors will come to their aid. Got that going. The other part is the people. Now, I, over time, have increased the resistance public opinion to 64%. And that basically gives me a really good control. Well, if somebody is trying to take you over, they'll start knocking you down a bit. Let's see. I think there is one that the aliens were actually here. This one. I had better fight a public opinion war here because this ended up being 40% of the population, and I kept dropping down. I just kept focusing some of my counselors on that area. What I noticed is that I have control of nearly 10 places with 5 counselors. I think one of the reasons why I want to start over is that taking over a large country, it would be better to have the counselors focusing than on these little areas. Lessons learned. This is definitely a lessons learned. I may continue with this game, but I don't know. I don't want to go into too many details, so we'll just go through this in some detail. These are the nations that I control. It gives you the stats. Unfortunately, it doesn't tell you how much GDP you have, but it does tell you how much money you are making. If I was to focus on that, that's basically Panama is my moneymaker, and I put some investments into it to make it a better place. It tells you that Belize is a very small country anyways, in game terms. The game is pretty realistic on the size of these nations, their political disposition, and things like that. Let's go over to habitats. Here's the major mistake I made. There are all these habitats, very cluttered. I will just go to mine. I have this guy in low Earth orbit. Fortunately, what is killing me with this guy is that I was wondering why other people weren't starting to build these things. And now I think I know, because it actually has a 7 crew and it is killing me on lift capability. Up here, it is saying that our daily income is 0.05, 0.074 from counselors, minus 0.02 for the hack. So this is basically taking away 20, 30, almost 40% of my increase in lift capability. And this is where I'm falling behind. It's this lab. I can't afford to support this lab at this moment. I think the rest of it is fine, but I need to learn more about the game. So this hab is another reason. I am a collection of poor states, and my space program is already falling behind. Now, fleets, nobody has built any ships yet. You have to have a good station to start that. The technology, this is the global part. You get to choose. If you're contributing the most to any one of these research projects, you get to choose the next research project, if your percentage is the highest. All you're doing is moving these bars around and figure out how much you're contributing. My organization has 2 slots right now, and it tells you what needs to be done for the next slot. For right now, I am focusing completely on the outpost mining complex because I'm falling behind on the moon. You need an outpost mining complex to start build up minerals and things like that for space. If I was to continue, yeah, I would need to focus on space because once you have the infrastructure in space, I think your group is not so dependent on the nations on the Earth. But as a human, you don't want to see anything bad happen to the Earth. Here are the other organizations. Without too many details, I have 5 counselors, and they all seem to have 5 counselors as well. None of us started out with 5. I found a couple of them. I've interacted with a couple of them. I have a non-aggression pact with him, or that leader, I should say. People want to leave, or they want to do humanity first, and irradiate the aliens, or in between the two. And then you got the people who want to be helping the aliens. Here's all the reports of everything on the aliens. You can find their habitats, their fleets. They've got fleets, we don't. They got a site in China already. Right now, there are a couple wars going on. So the Ukraine-Russia war started the game. It was over when the European Union took over Ukraine. At the moment, it looks like India under one of the groups like servants. I think they've been trying to take over all their neighbors. I get the world stats and things like that. It's kind of cool. The solar system, you get to see all the large objects in the solar system. Transfer planner is basically if you want to go from one orbit to another orbit, and you have to figure out fuel, and that's the way you get costs of everything. Prospecting, most of this is the moon. And you can see the moon right now. It has all the other factions way ahead of me right now, unfortunately. There are 7 factions, and 6 of them are on the moon. So that is a clue that I screwed up in the beginning. I may play catch-up, but I think I mentioned once before that I started the game in one patch level, and they patched it to another and another. So maybe just for that reason alone, I could justify starting over. But I also know a lot more about the game. Confirm assignments. So I will go over a little bit about this. Each one of these people, we try to get them to focus on an area. Insurgency is not so bad here. Insurgency is not so bad here. Insurgency is not so bad here. This one is starting to get frosty. Public campaigns are for adding more public support. He's my scientist. There is no mission right now to investigate anything.
Acknowledged.
This guy is the ultimate, like he can control nations. These have been taken over, so they're not so great. But right now I can grab Chad if I wanted it with him. He is also a public campaigns capability. He sets national policy. It's too early in the game, or I'm not in the right kind of countries for that one. I'm not. It doesn't seem to be ready 10 hours into the game. 2's basically overthrown government, reset the control points. So you're not taking control. Other people have the ability to take over completely. Right now, I'm going to focus on the public campaign for Cuba. You can see that we are still fighting the Protectorate. His job right now is to firm up Cuba.
Acknowledged. I'm here.
She's awesome. Awesome. She can defend your interest, public campaigns, sabotage, survey locations, detain other counselors from other organizations. Literally put her on defense here.
Protecting our interests.
Where to?
Standing by.
This is the judge. She's great at stabilizing nations, so pick Nicaragua. Stabilize it.
Restoring order.
Standing by for order.
He's called a fixer. He's got a lot of corporations under his belt. They give him more skills. He's also great for stabilizing nations. I will also put him on Nicaragua as well. Not sabotage. In the game, you don't even know if you can trust your own people. Sometimes they can be taken over. At the moment, everything seems okay. Gonna confirm the mission there.
Restoring order.
And then the last guy, I will just put him on a public campaign.
We'll make our appeal.
And then you just let it rip. Confirm it. And increase the speed a bit. Now, these are things orbiting. Like, this is mine in the middle, orbit 1. There's a bunch of us now in that orbit.
Our control.
Defense mission. All it is gonna tell me, it is doing it, so all I'm gonna do is continue it. I mean, the whole solar system is moving too right now, but I'm just focused on Earth. You can see certain characteristics are building up. This is the most important one from the time being. To launch us to the moon, I need 9. I would have more if I didn't build the extra habitat module on the space station. So, live and learn. I'm going to increase the speed because otherwise this will take forever. This is still not the fastest speed.
Public opinion is moving in our direction.
Honduras. It tells you how much it was successful. Just hit continue.
Things are cooling off.
We have knocked down the unrest.
The people will come to our side.
And then I have increased my Cuban popularity. Hurricane! It struck Havana, so let's send some aid. There are certain events. If I pay 210 of that, limits the damage, grants significant public opinion boost. All armies in the affected region suffer minor damage.
Things are stabilizing.
That was good, and then we stabilized Honduras some more. Now, this is not indicative of the whole game. This is basically how I played this out with a lot of small countries. Now, I think if I got to focus on a bigger country next time that I start over, because micromanaging small countries seems to be a big distraction with all my counselors. And that seems to be the focus of the counselors that I have accumulated, is to micromanage countries, not necessarily go into space. When you want to buy a new counselor, let's just do one thing here. You can recruit all different types. There are professors and tech moguls and astronauts, inspectors and officers, judges, investigators. it is an interesting game. I am going to definitely call it quits here. Thank you for watching my video. I am GenXPCGamerGuy. Like and or subscribe, please. I do this as a hobby at the moment. But the more likes I get, the more likely I'll do more. Have a good morning, evening, and or night.